Hello and welcome back to the Consistency Club podcast. Absolutely thrilled today to welcome now good friend, but a client of mine, Sadeep. Main premise of this conversation is to go over Sadeep's journey, where he was at the beginning, what we've achieved, how he's feeling, what were the lessons that he took out of the experience in improve, not just improving his health, but also going for some pretty cool goals and setting some deadlines leading into a High Rocks event, which we'll get into. You just told me you got another one booked, which is brilliant. And hopefully on the back end of this conversation, for any of you guys listening, there are some synergies with where Sadeep was at the start of his journey. And through this conversation, you find some value. But Sadeep, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you on again. Thank you so much for doing this. If you don't mind, just provide a quick, super high level introduction to yourself for everyone listening.
Lovely talking to you, Jamie, as always, and thank you for doing this. My name is Sudeep. I'm based out of Singapore for the last 16 years. I am an Indian origin who has lived in many parts of the world. I am into consulting, so that's the reason for my traveling, frequent traveling across the globe. I'm 50 years old, just in June, and here I am completed my High Rocks race and feeling much more youthful than I did last year.
Brilliant. And we'll get into that journey because there's a lot to take away from the steps, the obstacles leading into the event and having to travel. Again, I think there'll be a lot of value there. Let's get into where you were when we first had our initial conversation, when we connected and we sat down and we had that discovery call. Give people a little bit of an insight into where you were physically and where you were mentally at that time in relating to your health and fitness.
Well, I have been doing a little bit of gymming or sports once in a while. It's like once in a blue moon. There was nothing consistent about anything that I did in my life. And I am a great lover of food, alcohol, smoking. I've been doing that past 30 years, and that became a lifestyle which I thought I can sustain forever, because that gave me a lot of connects, a lot of friendships, and a lot of social time. Now what happened last year is I started feeling unwell during the day, sleepy during the afternoon hours, and I thought of going to the doc and getting a checkup done. And when he checked, he came out with a conclusion that I need to take a step back. I have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and gave me a lot of medicines to live with. And I came back home and I thought, that's it. Like, I can't do any of the things that I was doing, and I've been wrong all the while. And that guilt feeling came to me, and I was in a kind of a depression, you can say, just thinking that why on earth did I land up in a situation like this. After a couple of days, I thought of, hey, it's not too late. Why can't I correct it? I know everything can be corrected. And researched on the internet, and I just stumbled upon the consistency coach advert on LinkedIn. And I was curious to look at the profiles, and I saw a lot of people who have transformed from the outside, but I didn't know what happens inside, because I was more keen on the inside thing, going by the medical story, and external one is circumstantial, like it is going to happen if you are internally strong. So I thought, let me have a chat with Jamie and see what he can do for me inside rather than outside. And trust me, my sense was that Jamie is going to talk about the external part, how to increase my biceps and reduce my bulging abdomen. But the whole conversation went into Jamie listening into what I was thinking, and then the kind of response he was uh, coming out, what was nothing to do with the physical external aspect, but more on how do you get to feel better inside. And that's what interested me. So that was sometime in November, Jimmy,
Yeah,
last year.
correct.
And we started the program from 1st of December. I remember that day. I was very excited. So it was a 360-degree turnaround of my life. Be it nutrition, be it sleep, be it working out, and most importantly, the recovery aspects, which I was never ever aware of. How do you recover yourself again and again? by putting yourself in trouble and then getting out of it, and how do you control it to expand. So you kind of put yourself into more and more trouble, and then you recover all the more. And that was something which was fascinating. I think by January the changes started to show, not just externally but internally. Jamie did see my pictures, but I knew myself inside that I was a new person within a month. And there are some aspects where a lot of knowledge makes a difference. If you're ignorant, you don't do it. The moment you are enlightened with the information, you are never going to do that. And that happened to me every single time I was talking with Jamie. And I figured out a few macros, like 50% is about diet, 30% or 25% is about um, working out your body, and the rest is recovery. It's not just sleep. Jamie has been advising me for not just sleep but even showers and saunas and swimming, and that knowledge keeps on building up. And once you get a taste of it, it's impossible for you to knowingly come back to your previous state. And I think after 7 months today, there are few things which I would never ever, no matter what happens in my life, I'm never ever going to go back, because of the simple fact that I know about.
Yeah, incredible. And that makes me so happy to hear, because that fundamentally is why we do this. I'm very transparent with anyone I work with. You should not use me for the rest of your life. If we got phases and goals and events to go for, then that's great. But for the internal, the longevity aspect, the health aspect, the body composition, and the education, my job is to pass that on to you. But the one thing I can ask within that experience is that you grab hold of it and you put it to action. And you did that literally from day one. So as you rightly say, within a 4 week window, we were not only seeing the impact of the program, but you were feeling it as well, which is the most important thing. And that initial interaction we had on that call was super refreshing for me, because a lot of discovery calls and consultations are about people who they want to lose body fat, and that's their primary goal, or they want to develop some muscle, or they want to get strong, and all those things are fantastic, of course, and we have the right to want those things fundamentally, but they come as a byproduct of the way we get you living your life. If we get you living your life in the correct way, you innately feel better. Your internal health markers start to improve. And that should always be, and I use this word quite a lot, you've probably heard me say it many times too, but this should always be the existential reason why. Like, and I know, and forgive me for being sort of candid here with you, but I know this journey in the initial part was driven by fear. Is that fair to say, in terms of your longevity and your future path, and the path you were taking? Is that a fair summary of what kind of pushed you down this avenue?
Absolutely. It was kind of a desperation where you imagine to be something, and your body, mind, emotion, and energy are not at all directed towards that. And that car is not going anywhere, which has these four wheels pointing towards the four directions. So once we got the body, mind, emotion, and energy pointed to what I thought I can be, uh, it was fast. So it has a lot to do with the emotions and the mindset, primarily because it's directly proportional. So if you put in 100%, you get a 100% result. If you put in 80%, you get an 80% result. So what happened to me within a month may not happen to everyone, or some people could probably do it in 2 weeks. So it's the wholeheartedness of uh, giving into the process 100% or more, and that's where the speed of uh, change takes place. And once it starts taking place, it's for eternity, as you said. It's not stopping anytime soon, because health is a science which people are figuring out things every day. I believe, Jamie, you are into a lot of reading and a lot of research, and you get to learn a lot every day, and it's endless. So once you have started the journey, you start loving it.
That's a really interesting point, because in this industry, and it's an incredible industry. I love it. There's a lot of amazing people, but a lot of people try and sell a silver bullet. Fundamentally, science is constantly evolving. I mean, just take resistance training as one of our cores. Everyone we work with, we push to a resistance train for its physiological effect. If you look at the science around resistance training, it was only talking 18 months ago that data came out to tell us that heavy partials are, you know, as good, if not marginally better, than full range of motion, high contraction, like high squeeze, but lower weight reps for hypertrophy alone. Now, if you had said that 5 to 10 years ago, like you'd be deemed as a poor trainer. Like that's not how you train. That's not how you develop muscle. The science tells us that. So no matter if someone stands in front of you and says this isn't, there are some absolutes, but on the most part, if someone says this is an absolute and this is what you've got to do, and I've used it on a load of people before, it just doesn't work that way in health, which is why, we've got to understand you first. We've got to understand, and of course, your physiology, but even down to your mindset and your life and your schedule. And that we need to get that all encompassing picture before prescribing anything. But of course, we've got our fundamental core pillars that we need to try and tick off as well, in alignment to how much time you've got available, how much travel are you doing, have we got events that we're going for. And obviously we discussed high rocks fairly early on. You set that goal to get that done, so we had to have some specificity when it came to our training, and we were limited at the start in terms of what we had available. That's the fun stuff, is like, how, for me selfishly, like how do I piece this together to make this as fun, challenging, easy as possible, while still generating the maximum result. And all of those three things aren't operating at the same time sometimes. Like you've got to go through the resistance part of this journey, as you would experience, is overcoming the inner voice. We will all have it for the rest of our life that wants us to check our emails, get on our phone first thing in the morning, not go and work out, get home late, feel tired, not go and work out, not get a walk done at lunch, or go and eat for convenience again, and not pay attention to our nutrition or track it. Like we'd all experience that. I've been long in this game and I experience that to this day, but we get better at overcoming it, and we can separate ourselves from the kind of devil on our shoulder, the inner voice that is serving just to keep us who we are today. And we can action outside of that. We've got to, I probably said this to you early on, but we have to act on behalf of who we want to be in the future. So if we act as who we are today, we will stay the same. Which is why, like, just take the training, for example, we track data, we look at the numbers, we never go into a session without understanding what did we do last time. Because then you just start acting as who you were last week. So you do the same, similar sort of weight, similar sort of time, similar sort of reps, whatever it may be, whatever discipline you're training in. And before you know it, 2-3 years can pass, and okay, you've maintained some shape, but you've not progressed. And I think when it comes to, like, we're all super busy, right? You're really busy, same as anyone that we work with. So if you're going to dedicate the time to train, if you're going to dedicate the time to plan your nutrition, and we're going to try and optimize your recovery, let's make all of it count. Let's get as much out of that experience as we can do. And credit I'll give to you. You are one of the most impressive individuals I've come across in terms of picking something up and running with it. So that's credit to you, because again, as a coach, that's all we can ask for. And I think a lot of people, and maybe this is because you were living in the cognitive dissonance before you started. So that realization of, okay, I know who or how I want to see myself, or how I do see myself mentally. My physical doesn't align with that, and my actions don't align with that. That is a definition of cognitive dissonance. You arrived at that before you came into the program, and maybe that helped. I'm not sure. Some people experience that as they're trying to kickstart their health journey. But again, credit to you for just grabbing it and actioning it, and it's been incredible to see your journey. So, what would you say? Go on to deep. Sorry.
Jimmy, can I share quickly two of the thoughts which came to me in the last 7 months? So, fitness is something like spirituality, where nobody can claim that he knows it all. And the subject is so complex, vast, and there are so many layers and so much of personalization that goes into it. It takes time. For to start with, it takes time, and by the time you come to know the basics, it takes time, and advanced is forever. So first of all, this constant quest of knowing about it cannot go. And I know there are people who even reached out to me after my transformation that, hey, what is it about? Is it protein or is it about going to that particular gym? Or they're looking for easy answers, right? There's no easy answer for this. And I stayed away from advising anybody. I said, I don't know you. I don't know what you want. It's okay to be whatever you are. I mean, there's no problem. Everybody doesn't have to go to the gym and eat clean. The world would fall apart if that happens.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, if somebody is, as I earlier said, you want to be something, but your mind, body, emotions, and energy are not focused on that. That's an scenario of unhappy. If you're happy being that, no problem at all. But if you're unhappy about it, then you need to streamline those four things and get going. And what stops us from going there, and I have faltered a number of times, and I went and sat back on the horse, as Jimmy used to tell me, that from tomorrow, get back on the horse. How did I get rid of my past, I would say, addictions as well as habits? I simply said that I had done that enough. I had enough burgers. I had enough sausages for this life. My quota for this life is over. If one person can eat 10,000 sausages, I had that. It's done. I don't need any. If I have smoked 10,000 cigarettes, I'm done. I've finished my quota. I've enjoyed it to my heart, ultimate quota. So that helped me get over those things every time. Whenever I saw some food which I loved, a bacon, I just said I had enough bacon. I remembered all the times I had loved the bacon in different parts of the world, and that killed uh, my sense of emotion of pulling me back to my previous world.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an interesting point. I think that mindset that you adopted and that was your strategy to deal with the cravings and the temptations around you. I think a lot of people can take something away from that. So I hope anyone listening, and look, we're all different. We all react to different stimulus, and different things work for different people. I really think that's a valuable thing to look at if you analyze your life and understand how long or how often if you acted in a way that doesn't advocate health, you can start to understand that, okay, I'm before I even make progress, I've got catching up to do to get myself on a level playing field. And um, I like the analogy there. I think that'll work for a lot of people. What would you say? What would you say has? Let's do top three. What were your top three favorite things you experienced, or top three points from the service, or top three things that you learned going through this journey, whether it was early, late on, or across the full 7 month period today?
Well, the
I'm
top
putting you on the
three
spot
is,
here, so I apologize.
no, I mean, the top three, the first one that comes to my mind is what I just mentioned, is it's a never ending science. And both the coach and the client has to understand that it's evolving. And once you personalize it, for example, you personalized it for me, and believe me, I've spoken to multiple coaches, including AI coaches. The difference is that nobody understands you. He's giving you a generic plan. You need to run, for example, 30 minutes. Hey, I didn't run 1 kilometer in my life. You're asking me on day one to run 30 minutes is not personalization. So getting together to know each other, and then the coach like you who personalized it for me, a 5 minute run, a 10-minute run, and slowly increasing it to my capacity, watching my heart rate, my recovery numbers, is something which made me learn that, hey, this is a very complex science, and we both are learning about this thing. Because when I say you are learning, you're learning it about me. You are learning it for some other client of yours, and you have a lot of learning arenas in that way. For me, it's simpler. I need to learn about myself, and that is the most important thing which I learned, that what works for me, how it works for me. If I need to rest, I call up Jamie. Jamie says, nothing doing. You're not doing anything today. uh, don't get back on the horse today. And that is the most important thing which I learned. Second is, there are n number of factors. It's not about just eating the right meal. It's about what constitutes that protein. In that, what are the different grades of protein which you need to vary? You can't just have one type of protein or one type of carb or one type of fat. And how to make it interesting so that you don't get bored eating the same damn thing every day. And I realized that healthy food can have variety and healthy food can be tasty. This is the second most important learning which I had, because come on, every time we work out, we are hungry and the craving comes in. We are humans. But then, if the number of choices in front of you is one versus 10, it makes a lot of difference to your inner happiness, right? And those 10 are possible with healthy food. That's what was not ever in my mind 7 months ago.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
third
and of
thing
course,
is,
nutrition's the core of that. If we stay on top of our nutrition, particularly, it can really supplement everything else that we do. Obviously, we need all of it together. But when you understand that the body craves what you feed it, so if you feed it high sodium, high sugar, high carb foods, it's going to demand that from you. But if you take a 4 to 6 week break from those foods, the shift in your palate, the shift in the cravings, the relationship you have with food shifts completely to the point you kind of look at it and go, I actually don't need that. And the mental shift can be incredible in nutrition. I think once you hit that, it can make the nutritional system easier, but you have to put the effort in to get there, which you did early. Sorry, I cut you off, but I just wanted to emphasize that point.
well, you were saying exactly the same thing in a better way. What I wanted to say is the human body is such an amazing tool where it adapts to whatever you train it for. And for example, if you stop having sugar in your tea, it tastes horrible for people who are used to it. But within a week, your tongue adjusts to the taste of a tea without sugar. And believe me, if you try that for 6 months and then someone gives you a tea with sugar, you are going to dislike it. You're going to hate it. And you would like to go back to the tea without sugar. So I have experienced that in the last 7 months where I was eating, as I said, all the great food across the world. And now when I taste it I genuinely dislike it. I can't have it. After a spoonful, I feel like I'm doing a crime. Not because it hurts my health. It's not because my cholesterol is going to go up, but I don't like the taste anymore because my body has adapted to the analogy I gave about the tea.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So just
So we need to give
again,
that 6 months. That 6 months is important for the body to recalibrate and start liking what you did.
100%, and it's a work in progress. And across the 6 month period, with all of the win the world, you'll probably relapse at some point, or you have something, or you're out for food, or you've got business entertaining, or there's airport food. It's not about, I always say, it's the big word behind me, consistency underpins everything we do. And I've said to you before, you can't have perfection and consistency together. They just rarely exist. But another thing that I keep close to my, or at least close at the front of my mind at all times, is don't let perfect get in the way of good. And I think a lot of people suffer when it comes to their health journey. Also, again, we're working with execs, busy professionals, and business owners. Our schedule doesn't always allow us to be perfect, but don't let that get in the way of good. Don't say, oh, I'm traveling for 2 weeks now, I can't do anything. Or you're going through intense busy periods in which you're on call with eastern coast of the US, so you've got late calls, you're in Singapore, whatever may be the hurdle that you're facing, even if a family vacation, again, don't let perfect get in the way of good. So don't shut down. Don't just then eat for convenience and let the mind go, I'll deal with that when I have the bandwidth to deal with it. Our health has to be the foundation. We have to have our fundamental habits that we stick to. And when we do, we get through that period with more energy, more vigor. We deal with it in a more stress resilient way. And we come out of that period feeling really positive because we've proved to ourselves that the ecosystem of my life does not mean that I have to be unhealthy. I think a lot of people are in that, get stuck in that mindset of I'm busier than everyone else, I travel a ton, whatever it may be. I can't do this right now. I'm in a phase of my life where I can't, and I'll get to it when I'm a little bit less busy. And fundamentally, that just never happens, or it's going to be too late by the time it does happen. And that's not to scaremonger, but I think, you know, God willing, we're all blessed with health if we're lucky from the beginning, and we've got to protect it. and it's a daily choice to protect it. Even down to, you see me sipping away, even down to how much water you intake, and making sure you're not chronically dehydrated, which a lot of people just live in that state. Down to when you get home in the evening and you're tired and the fatigue sets in, cortisol's a little bit higher, you haven't had complete structure around your day, or your eating windows have been messed up and you get all the cravings. That exact moment, it's those small moments, not the workouts, not the 8 hours sleep, not all the, it's those small moments that define your health path and decide your success, and success with us as well, success in this process. If you could make the positive decision in that split second moment, that's the difference between coming to the end of the week when we have our progress reports and our check-ins and being really happy with the review and what you see, and me going, I'm over the moon with what's happened this week, or going, okay, this week's been a little bit of a write-off. What's gone wrong? Okay, we've been overeating. There's been some snacking. We're not feeling great because of that. You didn't sleep great. So it's often the smallest, seemingly smallest decisions day to day that have the biggest impact. And overcoming those small decisions, are like winning those small battles, becomes a habit. But in the same way, losing them becomes a habit. So the more and more you give in and you go to the snack cupboard, you reinforce that habit, and vice versa. So that's super, super important. We can do all the training as we have done. We can set our sights on events. We can try and prioritize our sleep. We can stay hydrated. We can try and eat well fundamentally across our 3 meals or 2 meals or 4 meals, however many meals you have as an individual. But again, the small things often account for on paper what success would be or not. So keep that close, because we are acting every single day as who we want to be in the future, and we're all fighting an aging curve, in terms of hormone levels, and cellular aging. So really, we need to do everything we can if you want to be around for as long as possible with your family and provide, and you want a high quality of life later on in life. We have to take those decisions now, and that's what I'm passionate about reinforcing. And again, you did that. What would you say? What would you say was your favorite? What's the thing that made the difference the most for you in the service and itself, in terms of being part of the consistency club, and working one on one with us?
I think when I started off, I thought I am busy the entire day. There are responsibilities at home. My daughter's preparing for a board exams. I need to take care of that. And then here comes a plethora of activities which I need to do on top of everything. And it was quite overwhelming in the beginning, where hydration, cold showers, the whatever you put into your mouth, going to the gym, and everything around it, sleep, uh, logging into your 3 apps or 2 apps. It was quite cumbersome in the beginning. And then one thing which I want to share with everyone is might help is that if we make it a habit, it's not painful at all. The moment we take it as a task, it becomes a pain. So initially it was a pain, and quickly I tried to make them my habits. So I wake up, do a few sit-ups, and work. While doing that, drink a lot of water. So that became a habit, and every single day when I'm doing that, it doesn't feel like it's a task anymore. It's who I am. That's what I do. I wake up, I squat, and I drink a lot of water. That's me.
Yeah,
And that
identity.
activity never became a task for me. It became like a lifestyle. uh, Once I finish my 6 p.m. meeting, I get up and I go to the gym. That's my lifestyle. I love meeting people in the gym. I made a lot of friends there. So once it became a lifestyle, now I'm doing all of those and what I used to do earlier. And I don't feel the burden anymore as I did when I started off. And when I try to think, why did that happen? How did I accommodate so many things in spite of being so busy? It's because I just incorporate them as my life. That's who I am. That's what I do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a very important lesson which I got in the last 7 months.
I appreciate you sharing that, and not just for those listening who aren't with us, but hopefully our clients who are listening. When it comes to the tasks, all of those tasks are there for a reason, and you have to fight through the pain. But once you've done that and you've calcified the habit as you've experienced, it just becomes automatic. you no longer have to align much bandwidth to it. It's just part of what you do, because actually none of them take that long fundamentally. Like if you add up between entering your data, um, tracking food, if we're doing that, and tracking the workouts. In the workouts, you're working out anyway. So that time is, you're there, you're present. So it's whilst you're resting, you're entering the data. So that's obsolete. But in terms of your food and entering your data across the day, you can probably average, you would be doing that for maybe 5 minutes, like actual in app time,
Exactly.
putting that data in. So it's not the time that's the issue, is it? It's just the fact that the mind goes, "Oh my god, that feels such a task," because I've got to align some mental energy to it, and then it becomes this whole thing that the mind goes, "Oh my god, it takes ages," and it's really comes in, and it's super super simple. But you've got to push past that. So again, that's credit to you, because everyone experiences that upfront part, that kind of that period where you don't have the momentum yet, you're trying to earn it, and you're trying to learn the kind of system and everything. But you overcame that, or at least I felt you overcame that pretty quickly, which is why you started to see the results quickly. Like the turn of the year, you were already in a much better position, which is brilliant. Um, what would you say for anyone that is in a less than optimal position right now and knows it internally, but isn't sure, doesn't have the confidence in themselves, doesn't believe they can do something consistently? What would you say to that person that might be listening in that position?
Well, I think we need to get to sit down and think, what do we fear? What are we really scared of? Are you scared of dying? I was scared of dying last year. And if I can do anything about it, yes, I can. There are two ways. One is to have the pills and relax and tell everyone that, sorry, I can't run, I can't do heavy exercises because I have a high blood pressure. And that's it. I mean, that's one way of going about it, because I fear death, right? The other way is to take that same fear of death, saying that I might as well die on the treadmill or running somewhere on the road, and dying this first way. Now, it's absolutely our choice which one we choose. Do you want to die a hero's death, or you want to die a coward's death? And that's how I put it. And I, as always, want to be the hero. So I decided to go and do the thing that is more dangerous in a way. Because if you are a heart patient and you are running like crazy, it is more dangerous. But then that's where the fun was. Like, I want to die that way. I don't want to lie on a bed and die. I want to die exhausted, completely exhausted, doing something or striving for something. Now, this is not something which I realized one good night or a early morning thought provoking thing. It came slowly to me that I want to live an active life, and if death comes through that activity, it's welcome rather than trying to be safe and live a bit longer, maybe. So, my message to everybody is that you got to choose, understand what you are fearing. Do you fear that you're going to break a leg, or do you fear that you're going to have a heart problem and you're going to collapse? If that's your fear, look at the various ways in which you can overcome that fear. Uh, there is an easy way out, there is a difficult way out. If you choose the difficult way out, just like everything else, it's going to give you more dopamine. It's going to make you happier. And I got that dopamine feel which I got in 2016 when I jumped from the world's highest bungee jump. It is unexpressible. The feel is, you can't explain it in words. That was in 2016, and then I got it last month when I completed a high rocks race solo, and that dopamine stays there for a long time. It doesn't go away. So if we want to be that happy, we need to take the more harder course.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if if you don't want that kind of a dopamine happiness, then there is always an easy way out.
yeah. Of
Do
course, absolutely. And I think in the path less traveled, which is often the harder way, the way in which you challenge yourself and fix your nutrition and get workouts in and change your lifestyle. There is personal development. There's lessons, as you said. There's the hormonal and chemical benefits of now feeling great day to day in mood, but also you build your confidence back in yourself and you reduce that cognitive dissonance. You start acting within your values and how you see yourself and how you want to be seen. And the easier way, which would be to sit back, relax, and ignore it for now, you get none of those things. You get frustration, the cognitive dissonance grows, you reduce your self confidence because the longer it goes on, the more it sort of calcifies that, okay, I'm just not a person that can do this, and none of that is true. So whatever that journey may be, it doesn't necessarily have to be joining the Consistency Club or any coaching solution. It could be just starting small and staying hydrated and prioritizing sleep a little bit more and trying to cut out some snacking to gain some momentum. Whatever it may be for any of you guys listening, um, choose the harder path and just start getting going. And again, don't let perfect get in the way of good. We're just trying to look for consistent action, a tick box mentality, win like the small daily wins. Did I get up on my first alarm? Did I? It depends on the habits you want to install, but it's why I'm not even for the physiological benefit. It's why I'm passionate about cold showers. It's just a win. Like if you've done that, there aren't many harder things than when you're tired and grumpy in the morning, getting under some ice cold water. So you just stack the momentum if you start doing that. It just has a huge impact on your output in life. And if you're in a role of responsibility or you're growing a business and developing your career and providing for your family, the value you can see far outside of just your own health and what you see in the mirror, your internal confidence. It can go above and beyond that. It can go out into the impact you can have in the world, which sounds really cheesy, but I'm passionate about that. You know, our energy is our frequency, really. And that can really be dictated by how we're actioning within our life and using our health as a foundation. So I agree with everything you said. And to see you do that high rocks kind of push through with some adversity, because you know the last 2 weeks, not a little bit longer leading into that event, training was difficult. You missed your high rocks simulations because you were away. You were traveling on holiday then for business, but you got it done, and that's your first one under the belt. We ticked off the goal. You've got another one in November, which is super exciting, of which the goal needs to be now looking at the time, looking at the splits, improving the skill, and go again and beat that.
Jamie, sorry
That's
to
for
interrupt. I just want to say one more thing is that we are not specialists in that area. I mean, we don't do the study, we don't do the research, we have other things to work on. So, just like we go to a doctor and trust the doctor that he has diagnosed me well and he is going to give me the right solution without getting into the entire medical literature and trying to understand every bit of it. We don't do that, right? So when it comes to fitness, we need to have a similar approach. For example, people over 50 lose muscles, and that can be overcome by lifting weights and having the proper nutrition and increased protein intake, blah, blah, blah. And that science, there are volumes of literature, millions of books. We don't have the time to read all that.
yeah.
But as long as you are telling me that you are going to lose muscle, you need to eat more protein, I need to follow that. So what I'm trying to say, I've seen a lot of people trying to research on their own, but it's an ocean, and by the time you figure out what you need to do, it might be too late. And that's why it's very important to engage somebody who knows that area and completely put your trust on that person and see the results yourself. And probably that's where our relationship came in the picture. I have been talking for the last 30 minutes as if I know it all, but that's all from you, that I have realized, right? So I don't have the time to read all this. I don't have the time to see a lot of YouTube videos, and some of them are bizarre, 360-degree opposite of the other guy, whatever he's saying. It can be very confusing. So we need to trust and completely submit ourselves to the right person, again, who understands us, personalizes us, and uh, simply following that is the way out. It's not to do your own research and question the whole process.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And of course, not to do yourself as a service because you've got to go and implement it on the back end. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The issue with this, you know, today and age, we've got free access to content all the time, whether it's, you know, social media, you've got, five different platforms, core platforms now, and then you've got people on those platforms that are trying to be polarizing, because polarizing means clicks, views, you get people in your camp for you to sell a service. But that, unfortunately, that is in the health industry, but it doesn't belong in the health industry, because there is, like I said before, there's no kind of there's no silver bullet. It's people dependent. It's analyzing the individual, and it's a little bit of trial and error. My job with my clients is to test. We're testing stuff, seeing, okay, does that work? No. How does this person respond? How does their physiology change? What do the numbers say, so it can lead our decision making? No, I really, really appreciate it, and I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Forgive me just doing a little bit of self promotion at the end here, but just out of curiosity, in 100% honesty from your side, how would you summarize the Consistency Club in terms of what it's done for you? And then second to that, who would you recommend this to?
Um, to answer the first question, it made all the difference in my life. It turned my life 360 degrees, and I can't even relate to the person I was just last year. And that's the difference it made. And if you ask me why Consistency Club, it's more about the personalization aspect, which I was talking about. You didn't show me any new exercise. You didn't ask me to eat any new food. You didn't ask me anything different from whoever advises on how many hours of sleep I need. Everything was not anything new, but you customized it to my needs and only my needs. And I think that's the biggest difference I saw compared to any other way of coaching. Um the second part of your question was
So who would you recommend
who
this to?
I wish I had started earlier. I really wish I started this in my 20s rather than in my 50s. So the quick answer is the earlier the better. But what I wanted to tell people who are of my age or even more, that my inspiration was somebody who was 67 years old, and he was doing a high rocks and he came in the world 15 ranking. So it's never too late. And when I met him and I spoke to him, he was not an athlete all his life. I mean, he started in his 60s. So I thought I'm 10 years younger. And I believe me, a 40-year-old guy got inspired by my story in I met him in the gym. So we always look up to a person who is even older than us and got it done. So there is no age limit for this transformation to happen. That's my firm belief. And it's applicable to of people of any age. Uh, who have some certain mindsets and have been seeing a lot of YouTube videos that if you drink this every morning, your constipation problem is going to go away forever. And that person is doing it for ages, hoping that someday his constipation is going to get over, and it does not. And that's just an analogy. So I was one of those people. And once I started eating the right food, exercising, my constipation was gone. So there is no age for getting that transformation done. And as long as we have people like you who would understand the age and not recommend a 60-year-old person something which is supposed to be done by a 20-year-old person, it makes complete sense. And believe me, there are coaches all around who is going to have one template, one story, one solution for everybody. Take it or leave it. And that's exactly what I was pointing to, the difference between what you did versus what a lot of people I spoke to.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words. It's been an absolute pleasure today seeing your transformation and working with you. Coaching is also built on people. It's built on this. It's built on relationships, and hopefully you
Uh,
agree with
One
what I say.
last
But
bit, one last bit. Sorry again to
yeah, of course,
interrupt.
of course.
There's a huge excuse which people like us do. We are executives in world class organizations. We have hundreds of people under us. There is so much work. I have no time. I was one of them. And you made me realize painstakingly that it's just an excuse. And now, after 7 months, I believe you. It was just an excuse.
Good. I'm glad I could sway you. And again, like I said, this is built on people. Every single time we've connected, I've loved our conversation. We've talked about more than just health sometimes, but it's been brilliant to see your journey today, and long may it continue. Thank you so much for coming on. Genuinely, I know you're super busy, so thank you for taking close to getting on for an hour of your time to provide some value to people, and hopefully from where Sudeep was to where he is now resonates with some of you listening. And if you have any questions about his journey, I will, on anywhere I post this, I'll tag you, Sudeep, and post questions below, and I can pose them to Sudeep, and we'll do a little bit of a back and forth. But it's been great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on board. And I look forward to seeing your next journey, your next chapter.
Thank you for having me, Jimmy. It was always a pleasure to talk to you.
Brilliant. Great to see you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and watching the Consistency Club podcast. We'll see you in the next one.